Hey guys, it's Lee, and today I'm going to cover 5 types of financial emergencies. Now, in the past, I've made videos on making sure that you have an emergency fund, but I've never made a video kind of breaking down what financial emergencies actually look like. So that's what I'm going to do today in this video. If you're new here, my name is Lee, and on this channel, I talk about personal finance, money, and investing. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, hit the subscribe button for more videos just like this one. I thought it would be a great idea to cover this topic because I've talked a lot about making sure that you have an emergency fund in other videos. And it really occurred to me that, it's not always clear what an actual financial emergency is to everyone. And what might be a financial emergency to me might not be the same for you, or you might interpret things a little bit differently. And then also some of us find ways to sort of rationalize dipping into our emergency fund when maybe we should not. And so I wanted to sort of go over these different scenarios so that you can clearly understand what is an actual financial emergency and what is not. So the first financial emergency that I'm going to cover is going to be job loss. Now, we never want to talk about topics like this. We always want to think that we are going to always be employed and nothing's going to go wrong. But unfortunately, things do happen from time to time in our life. We might lose our job for one reason or another. I mean, just think about the pandemic and how many people lost their jobs just overnight almost. So it's really important that you prepare yourself in case something like this does happen by, again, having that emergency fund. Now, if you lose your job, that is a clear scenario where you're going to have to use your emergency fund. In the meantime, what you can be doing that does happen is taking a look at your finances, looking at where you can cut expenses and taking those expenses off the table until you secure more employment. Now, the second reason might be from medical expenses. Now, when it comes down to medical expenses, sometimes things are just sprung up on us, right? So for instance, you might wake up one day with a terrible toothache and you have to go to the dentist's office and there's a huge bill that you're going to be stuck with. And that might be considered a medical expense that is an emergency. Or maybe you step off of a curb and you break your ankle, or you sprain your ankle, or you tear your ACL, or something wonky happens to you that you didn't plan for, because I know none of us plan to, hurt ourselves like that. So that could be something that pops up that you need to take care of. And there might be, again, a huge bill that you're stuck with. So that's another scenario where you would definitely want to use your emergency fund, because that is what that emergency fund is for. Now, the next scenario might be home expenses. So if you are a homeowner, it's a high likelihood that you might end up experiencing some home expenses that you did not plan for. So let me just kind of go over a couple that can definitely happen and something you need to think about. So for instance, there could be a huge, hailstorm that might take place and it's just beating up your roof and damaging your shingles. And that might lead to, leaking in your ceiling and damaged, plaster and all that kind of stuff, or sheetrock or what have you. And that can cause damage in your home and something needs to be fixed. Something else that might happen might be your furnace might stop working all of a sudden and you don't know what to do. Your air conditioning unit can stop working just all of a sudden, in the middle of the summer. So that can be another scenario where you find yourself having to shell out a lot of money unexpectedly. Now, of course, your homeowner's insurance is going to cover a lot of things, but you have to be mindful that it's not going to cover everything. And if you're not sure, I definitely encourage you to look at your homeowner's insurance just to see what it actually covers, so that if something does happen, at least you have an idea whether or not it may or may not be covered. Now, the next type of financial emergencies has to do with transportation. Yes, transportation. Whether we like it or not, we might be driving a car and it can just break down on us, okay? On the way to work, on the way to the mall, to our friend's house, it can just randomly break down and stop working and we cannot get to where we want to go. And so we might have to take that car into a shop and have it looked at. And then, of course, we all know once they look at it, they're going to find all these things wrong that we're going to have to shell out a lot of money for. So that could be an emergency type situation where you have to find a way to pay for this expensive car that has now broken down for you. And so that might be a reason why you need to do that. Now, be mindful that when it does come down to your car, one of the easiest ways to make sure you don't end up in a situation like that is to just take care of your vehicle. Make sure you're changing your oil when you're supposed to change the oil. Have your brakes checked when you're supposed to do that. Change your tires when you're supposed to do that. And if you're not sure, ask your mechanic or wherever you take your car so you can make sure that you're on top of those things, because that's going to really minimize the wear and tear on your car and also the chances that your car is going to break down or stop working. Now, the next financial emergency that you might find yourself is what I'll call an unfortunate transition period in your life. Now, I could name that something else, but I don't want to be dark and gloomy, but it could be a situation where, unfortunately, maybe your spouse passes away, or maybe you're going through a divorce, and that could be a scenario where you find yourself in an emergency, and so you need to figure out what to do in the meantime. Now, if for some reason that person has passed away, there could be a gap between when, life insurance and all those things might kick in. If they have that can actually help a lot on the back end in terms of your expenses, but you can never rely on that because you don't know how long that might take. So just be mindful of those things. But that is another scenario where it's definitely okay to go into your emergency fund and take care of those expenses that you might have to take care of. Now, if you can think of any other common scenarios where you might have to use your emergency fund, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and you found some value in it, go ahead and hit the like button for me. And then if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and watch this next video right here. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.